Welcome back to a special Pokemon Day edition of DeChamp's Rants and Reviews. We're going to go all over today's Pokemon Presents, some of the surprises that we saw, some of the announcements that were made, and what it means for 2026 and 2027. Now, if you're new to the channel, you may not know this, but I am a huge Pokemon fan. I have been a Pokemon fan for 28 years, which is the length of time that Pokemon has been around in North America. It came here in 1998 after debuting in Japan in 1996. So technically, our 30th anniversary is still a couple years away, but regardless, this is the 30th anniversary. This is a big celebration, and Pokemon kicked things off with a big Pokemon Presents today, outlining what to expect throughout the rest of the year and into next year. So, the biggest announcement today was Pokemon Wind and Waves. We've kind of all known, if you're a Pokemon fan like at all and you're at all online, we've kind of had an idea for a while that Pokemon Gen 10 was going to be revealed today. It's the 30th anniversary of the franchise. You know, it's been a few years since the release of Scarlet and Violet. It just made sense to finally showcase what the next generation of Pokemon games is going to look like. And honestly, it was pretty interesting. We have our introduction to the starters. As always, you know, we have our grass type, we have our fire type, and our water type. This time around, we have Brout, which is a bean chick Pokemon. That's our grass type. We have Pombon, the puppy Pokemon, which is our fire type. And then we have Gekwa, a water gecko Pokemon. And they're all pretty interesting. I have to say, right off the bat, Pombon looks like my starter. Generally speaking, I have leaned towards fire types when starting in Pokemon games. Ever since I started with this copy of Pokemon Red back in 1998, I have been a Charmander guy. I have not exclusively picked fire types, but more than 50% of the time, I've gone with fire types. For Scarlet and Violet, I went with Quaxley, but, you know, I tend to generally lean fire, and I really like Pombon. It's a really cool design. It does already seem like it's becoming a fan favorite. If you've been on social media at all since the Pokemon Presents aired, there's already so much fan art. This is one of the things I love about the Pokemon community. There are a lot of things I don't love about the Pokemon community. A lot of times the fans just gripe a lot. But the amount of art that we get like as soon as a new Pokemon is introduced is absurd, and it happens every single time, and I love it. It's so cool. There's already so much Pombon art out. Amazing. The talent is just unbelievable. But there are also a lot of people who like Brout. It seems like Gekwa right off the bat is like the least favorite of the three, which I'm kind of surprised. I actually thought Gekwa was kind of cool looking. Not Probably not the one I'm gonna go with. I'm very much leaning Pombon, but I thought it was still kind of cool. So we got to see those three. It looks like costume Pokemon are going to be a thing. We saw two dressed up Pikachu in the trailer that was revealed, and I'll be interested to see if that means that players will finally be able to import, costume Pokemon from Pokemon Go into a mainline game. If you've caught a costume Pokemon in Pokemon Go, that Pokemon is restricted to Pokemon Go. Even if it's shiny, whatever, you can't take it out. So I'm interested to see if costumes are like a gonna play a big part in this game. Um, I thought that the world was kind of interesting. One thing that we definitely it seemed to be hinted at in this trailer. It looks like the dive ability might be making a comeback. We saw that HM in previous games. It's been gone for a long time. Definitely looked like some underwater exploration, which was kind of cool. At least that was the hint. Um, lots to digest in this trailer. One thing that I thought was really interesting is at one point in the trailer, if you looked at the clouds, it looked like we may have had some hints at some legendary Pokemon, some really weird cloud type formations. One that kind of looked like a Gyarados almost. But they wouldn't obscure Gyarados. It's Gyarados. Like, it's been around since Gen 1. So I thought overall this was a really cool, effective trailer. This is what they ended on. Um, Kind of what was to be expected. But the thing that was really surprising in kind of a disappointing way is that it's not coming this year. It's going to be a 2027 release. It will be a Switch 2 exclusive, which is not surprising. Um, but 2027, man, I really thought that we would get, a new Pokemon mainline game this year. So it really raises some interesting questions about what are we going to get throughout, this 30th anniversary year. We do know they announced today that Pokemon Champions is coming to Nintendo Switch in April, which is basically like the successor to Pokemon Stadium. Not only is it coming to Switch, but it's also coming to mobile. The mobile version does not have like a release window yet. It's coming this year at some point, but that's happening. And then we have Pokemon Pocopia, at the beginning of March, which is really cool, right around the corner. That game continues to look really exciting to me. I thought that the Nintendo Treehouse live event the other day was really well done. I thought it looked really cool, really interesting. I One thing that I do really like about Pocopia, from everything I've seen, it feels like they're really leaning into the Pokemon-ness. Obviously, like there's some Animal Crossing inspiration, some Minecraft inspiration, but at the same time, like I've seen comparisons to Dragon Quest Builders. Um, we keep getting these hints that there's like a lot of like the heart of Pokemon in it. Sound effects, which are really cool. Like when Ditto, learns a new move from another Pokemon, we get like a familiar sound of the evolution sound. Today, we got introduced to DJ Rotom, and we're going to have a lot of old tracks from past Pokemon games making a comeback. So I really like that. It has me excited for this. I've been excited since they announced it. I feel like for the most part, we've seen kind of a drop off in Pokemon spin-offs that are, released on Switch, and instead, everything seems to go to mobile, and that's kind of boring to me. Don't get me wrong, I love Pokemon Go. I like Pokemon TCG Pocket quite a bit, but it's nice to see some like bigger spin-off games. I love Pokemon Snap. I love Pokemon Puzzle League. Like it's nice when we get back to that. And I'm really excited to see how Pocopia turns out. I can't wait to get my hands on it. And today, just kind of solidified that. Um, yeah, and so we have Pocopia and we have Pokemon Champions this year. We also know that Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness is coming to the GameCube app on Nintendo Switch Online sometime in the month of March. Which kind of is weird to me because it seems to like deconfirm that Pokemon Coliseum is coming. We got both of those games announced via the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct last year, and we haven't heard anything about them, ever since. So now here we are, and now they're only talking about XD Gale of Darkness. And if you've played either of those games, XD Gale of Darkness is basically like kind of an enhanced version. The plot's different, but like it's still a lot of the same areas. So I wonder if that was just the incentive to only go with one of the two. I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. It didn't seem like there was a lot of discussion around that. It doesn't seem like there's going to be Pokemon Home compatibility, which is kind of a bummer. I actually do still have some of the Pokemon from Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness that I caught on GameCube in home. So I mean that's I already have that. But that's kind of disappointing for people who never got a chance to play those games. It's always nice to be able to migrate your Pokemon in and continue to use them. There was a lot of speculation this week that the Switch versions of Fire Red and Leaf Green would not have compatibility with Pokemon Home. We now know for a fact, it was confirmed in today's trailer that in today's Pokemon Presents, that those games will be compatible with Pokemon Home, which is awesome. I feel like it's kind of the whole point. I'm interested to see if all of this means that we're gonna get Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald next up on Nintendo Switch. It makes the most sense, being able to kind of complete the national decks. Um, I've never been the biggest fan of Ruby and Sapphire. I personally speaking, I've always thought it was kind of one of the weaker gens. Um, and honestly, I much prefer the 3DS remakes. I love Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. But I will say I've never gotten a chance to play Emerald. It's one of the few things that I've skipped. I skipped both Emerald and Platinum. Those were like the only like third games I've ever skipped. So if Emerald does show up on Switch, I'll have to give it a shot and see. I know a lot of people prefer Emerald to Ruby and Sapphire. So hopefully, that does come out at some point and ends up being, maybe I'll end up enjoying it more and appreciating, Gen 3 a little bit more. So, yeah, so I think that that's something we'll see this year. We did get like a Garchomp, Mega Garchomp Z was revealed for Pokemon Legends ZA today as like kind of like a little bit of an event giveaway. I'm very curious if we get more Pokemon Legends ZA content this year. Now that we know for a fact that Pokemon Wind and Waves Gen 10 is not coming out until 2027, I wonder if we'll get more DLC for Pokemon Legends ZA. I just feel like with the 30th anniversary year, there's got to be something else, especially in that holiday window. I Pokemon loves, the Pokemon Company loves having some kind of content in that holiday release window. If they were to do something like that, it would help, spur more sales of ZA, which I don't think it really needs it, but we'd all like it. Somebody suggested online that we could see some DLC where we get the Prism Tower situation resolved, which I think would be kind of cool. I thought it was kind of surprising that Prism Tower was basically destroyed at the end of Legends EA and not repaired. It's kind of an iconic Pokemon landmark. It's in Super Smash Brothers, so I thought it was really interesting that situation wasn't resolved. So I wonder if we're going to get some DLC before the end of the year. That would be nice. That'd be a nice way, especially if we do get Ruby Sapphire Emerald on Switch. I feel like all of that would kind of help fill the void of a new mainline game in 2026. I'm also curious to see when in 2027 this happens. Now, if you're a big Pokemon fan, you know that traditionally we get new mainline games at the end of a year. So, I mean, are we really going to be waiting till the end of 2027 to get these, Wind and Waves? Like that really would be surprising to me. I wonder if it's not unheard of to get a mainline game early in the year. Maybe they shoot for April or something. We have gotten, I remember Diamond and Pearl came out in the US, in North America in the springtime, and I think Pokemon Black and White was the same way. So like that would be, that would kind of ease the pain a little bit, but we'll have to see. It's it'll be a long year. So hopefully we get more information from the Pokemon Company. I thought overall this was a pretty good Pokemon Presents. Wind and Waves look good. Like, it's just early footage, but it's exciting. Yeah, the game. It's funny because they announced this little like Game Boy player that plays individual cartridges with music from the Pokemon franchise. A lot of people were comparing it to Hit Clips. If you don't know what Hit Clips are, Google it. They're funny and this real relic from the late 2000 the late 90s. I I thought it was like a really neat thing, and then like the more I thought about it, I'm like, ooh, that's such a weird thing. Like I don't think I can justify the $70 asking price, but it is a neat little, a neat little accessory if you're a big fan of Pokemon music. Um, Also, Pokemon Center's website revealed a bunch of new merchandise. I have a Nidorino versus Gengar shirt on the way I'm excited about. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, overall, I thought, pretty solid Pokemon Day. But yeah, this raises a lot of questions for me, not just about Pokemon, but about Nintendo's lineup for the rest of the year. I thought for sure we would have, Gen 10 as, the big holiday 2026 release for Switch 2 alongside a 3D Mario. I think that the fact that it's not happening this year is like further proof that we're going to get a big Mario game before the end of this year. Nintendo's going to want something exciting to get people amped up and buying Switch 2s in the holiday season. So I feel like that's going to happen. But what else are they going to have? They have like a couple decent sized releases. I feel like it's way too early to get anything Zelda, but maybe we'll get something from Grezzo. Not the follow up to Tears of the Kingdom, but maybe some kind of remake or remaster or something. So I'm very curious to see how Nintendo closes out the year. We know a lot of the things that are coming out, honestly, probably through the end of summer. We have a lot of Switch 2 games that don't have dates, like Splatoon Raiders, the new Fire Emblem. So we have a good idea of what's coming, just not what's going to be in that, final fall winter window. But with Mario Day coming, just in like 2 weeks, keep an eye on Nintendo. They're gonna have some announcements, I'm sure. Hopefully something good for Mario. But yeah, as a big Pokemon fan, I thought this was pretty cool. One thing that's always funny to me is, all the fans like to complain about mobile games having like a big presence in Pokemon Presents videos, and like I feel like the Pokemon Company is really aware of that, and they've like shaved it to like 5 minutes at most of like, mobile game focus, and that works. But yeah, overall, pretty solid Pokemon Presents. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's next. They got me on buying Fire Red on my Switch, so I'll be playing that to celebrate Pokemon Day. I don't know if you guys did, but if you ended up buying either of the old Game Boy Advance games, let me know in the comments. Have you played these games before? Are you excited for a chance to go back to the Game Boy Advance, 2004 era? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, this is DeChamps Rants and Reviews. I love Pokemon. I've done a couple Pokemon pack openings this week. With Pokopia coming out and all these other different Pokemon things happening, we're going to have a lot to talk about throughout, 2026. So think about subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Tell your friends and take care.